Hello everyone, in this video we will explore an ERP use case implemented by Amoga platform. For this particular example, we will go through a use case where an R&D team is requesting the inventory team for some raw material. This request, once raised by R&D team, will first go to R&D HOD for approval. Once HOD approves the request, it will be sent to the store or the inventory team for processing. Inventory team can directly create an outward if the item is already available. If the item is not available, the inventory team has the liberty to request for a quote from a partner vendor or directly raise a PO if they do not need a fresh quote. Once the item is received at the inventory team will complete the quality check, issue a GRN, and then create an outward for the original indent request. All these interaction is enabled by Amoga setup. Okay, we will start our demo with indent creation. This is the indent creation page where you can see all indents that have been created from R&D team for their research purposes. First column I want to highlight is the status. So you are able to see each request according to their status. Next, you can see what project is this associated with, who is the assignee for this particular task, what is the reason for intent, what is the priority, who was it created by, when was this created, and when was it last updated and who updated it. Along with this particular table, we also show a couple of charts. First of them shows indent status, indents by project, and second of them shows indent by status distribution. Along with the charts, there are stats widgets which shows overall high level overview of all indents created, and these stats widgets also act as high level filters. All indents related to this particular filter. Move on to our next request. Here. So for this particular indent, all these items were requested by the R&D team. First, I will select the project. I will mark the priority. I will select the item that I require. I will enter the quantity. Since we already fetch the measurement unit, I only need to enter the quantity which is relevant for this measurement unit and this item. I can also add an associated document if needed. And then once I submit, the system will create a new indent request, this particular request. Here, this indent has been created and is currently marked in HOD approval status. Next, this indent will be assigned to HOD for approval. Moving ahead, we will go to indent approval page. Here, this page is for HOD's view, and HOD is able to see all the indents that have been sent to them for approval. And inside each request, the HOD is able to see the same original details created by the original request. So this is the item requested for this particular project with this particular reason. As an HOD, I have the option to approve or reject it. I will choose to approve it. Once I have approved this request, it is now moved from approval pending to approved, and associated with this, a new indent processing request will be shared with the inventory team. So here, the inventory team is able to see every indent request that has come to them for processing, and inside each, I'm able to see the detail of this particular item that is being requested by the R&D team. The next action for the R&D team is based upon the availability of this item. Since the requested item is 20 and available is 162, as an inventory manager, I can easily create an outward for this request. So system already by default has checked this create outward request, and all I need to do is do submit. I will go back and check the status of that particular request. So next it will create a stock approval task for the item I just created an outward request for. I am able to see what is the item that is pending in outward and what is the exact requirement. Once I have understood this requirement as an inventory manager, I will then mark the status from approval pending to shift if the item has already been shipped. And I will submit to close. Next, we will try to see if any particular item is not available, how to create an RFQ. So here I have a new request for one particular item which is available unit is 90 and requested unit is 800. So what I will need to do as an inventory manager is procure this item from my partner vendor. Here, if I do not have suitable quote for this particular item, I have the liberty to create a trigger which will send a quotation request for this particular item. So I will go to add vendor. I will choose the product name. I will choose the vendor that is required for. I choose to send this email to this particular vendor. Once I have selected the vendor, I have the option to send mail to vendor. This will trigger an email to vendor with all the details of this item. Next, the vendor will receive an email. Let's try to explore how does the email to vendor look like. So this is the email that is being sent to the vendor, and in this email the vendor will see a form link. Once the vendor clicks on this form, it will open a form which has a table with the details of the item, name and the quantity it is requested. As a vendor, I can enter the price. If I want to apply some discount, I'm able to add some discount. I'm also able to add relevant taxes and see my total for this particular item here and here as well. If needed, as a vendor, I can also attach a document. Meanwhile, I will go back to my RFQ page. For any particular request, there are codes that have been submitted by the vendors. So here, this particular request, I see multiple codes submitted by different vendors. I will go inside any one of them and I'm able to see the vendor detail along with the quantity that was requested and the input price, discount and tax and total for this particular item and the next item as well, and the total for all the items. This quotation has come from this particular vendor. If I like this code, I can directly approve, or I can choose to go back and see a table where all the codes are listed next to the vendor and next to the item. So I'm able to easily compare the best code for this particular item, and I will choose this one because this is the best code among all, and I will approve that particular quotation. So here I'm able to see all the requests generated to get a quotation. Along with it, a pie chart view of the request by status. Similarly, I have a table which shows each quotation that has been submitted by partner vendors and status of those quotations. Which we saw earlier is the item name, quantity, the price submitted and other details related to the price and the total price and the status of this particular quotation. Here Once a quote is approved, system will generate a purchase order which the procurement manager will be able to see, and based on the quote that has been approved and other related details, the procurement manager has the option to change the status from to do to PO sent. But before that, procurement manager can also generate PO and see the detail in a table along with the company logo and other details associated. Here, once I click on send mail, it will trigger an email of PO to my partner vendor, and the status I can mark as PO sent. Once a PO has been sent, potentially, and delivery is expected in the inventory. So I will go back to stock invert. Here, the procurement or inventory manager will receive a request with the status to do. Here, I will try to see that the status available is to do invert GRN closed. So before changing the status, I want to see the detail of this request. I'm able to see what is the quantity that is being received, what is the amount, price, and other associated details. And do an invert approved. So once I change the status from to do to invert approval, I'm able to see the item related details and the item quantity which is being considered for. In this, I have the liberty to update the amount that is being approved next to the item amount that is being received. Similarly, I will complete this table and I will do a submit. Once I submit, the system will change the status to partially approved. The reason it is at partially approved because one of the items that I approved, I only approved to an amount which was lesser than the amount that was expected. So once partially approved is done, this invert approval process is completed. Then once I change the status from partially approved to GRN, it will release a GRN to the partner vendor. This is a high level overview of one of our ERP setups which takes care of indent requests. Thank you.